Targets is a very significant horror film for many reasons which I'll explain, but the first reason is that it was one of the last films to star Boris Karloff. It goes without saying, he was one of the kings of horror. He was acting in horror films from the beginning of the 30s to the end of the 60s, and even after he died, films that he previously shot were still being released into the early 70s, with Snake People being the final one. But ignoring those others, Targets is his swan song, the last true Boris Karloff film. It seems as if it was purposely made to be his final farewell to the horror business. The others were just crappy leftovers. Karloff's character, Byron Orlok, is an aging horror star who's ready to retire. So basically, he's playing himself. They even use film clips from Criminal Code and The Terror, which blurs the line between the real person and the character. But the main difference is that the character, Orlok, is bitter and resentful about the movie industry. Nothing impresses him, he's always tired and grumpy. This makes for a lot of funny moments, like when a promoter is talking to him about getting him to appear at a drive-in movie screening. The guy's also an enthusiastic fan, and he's kind of goofy, telling him how much of a fan he is, and he says, "You blew my mind." Orlok replies, "Obviously." This is just one part of the story. The other part is about a sniper who's going around killing people for no apparent reason. The sniper seems like an ordinary guy. That's what makes him scarier, because you can't understand what it is that makes him want to shoot people. The most horrifying scene that sticks out to me is when he goes up onto a rooftop overlooking a highway and starts shooting people through the windows of their cars. While he's doing it, he's casual. He's eating a sandwich and drinking a soda like it's a perfectly normal thing, as if he's just playing a video game or something. The whole scene takes place on the rooftop. We never cut away to the people reacting. We never see it from any viewpoint other than his own. The only view of the road is through the crosshairs of the gun. It gives us a very distant, emotionless feeling. It's disturbing, yet downplayed. There's no music to enhance the tension. There's hardly any sound effects other than the gunshots. You never hear anyone scream because they're so far away. Basically, there's nothing exaggerated about the scene. It's very realistic. He's not a perfect shot either. Sometimes he misses. Sometimes another vehicle gets in the way or he gets distracted. It all plays out as it probably would if it was real life. It even happens in what feels like real time. The amount of time it takes for the police to arrive seems like just the right amount of time as it would in a real situation. I could go on and on talking about this one scene, but just see it. These two storylines, the sniper and the horror star, are happening separately, seemingly unrelated, but at the end they both cross over. Also, earlier on, the basic ideas cross over too. This is when Orlok, trying to justify his retirement, picks up a newspaper with a headline about people getting shot to death and says, "Here's your real horror." So the film is acknowledging that the world is changing, that people are more scared of the real-life horrors and not the monsters of the past, but at the same time, it's celebrating the legacy of Karloff. The final scene is a doozy. The sniper's on the loose, fresh after having been chased from the rooftop. He escapes the police and hides out in a drive-in movie theater, which is where Orlok is making his final promotional appearance. The sniper continues to shoot more people at the theater as the tension mounts. Just then, Orlok spots him out and begins walking toward him. At the exact same moment up on the screen, the movie Orlok, which is Karloff in The Terror, is walking in the same way. The sniper looks back and forth from the screen to the real-life person. He takes some badly aimed shots, then freezes up, and then Orlok, wobbling on his cane, comes over and smacks him around. I have mixed feelings about this ending. It kind of breaks the mood. It's silly, but it's also kind of awesome and unexpected to see the classic horror character save the day. Like, you need to learn a thing or two about your elders, son. Smack! Smack! From a historical standpoint, when we examine the timeline of horror films and how it progressed and adapted to the audience's changing sensibilities, this is one you can mark right in the middle, a transitionary film between the old and the new. It's aware of the modern sensibilities, but it's also representing the classics. One last representation, a passing of the torch, if you will, to the next horror generation.